Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Purrcelain Kat. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the glazing process I did. This is the first time I've actually done glazing in my studio, and it's actually the first time I've worked with underglazes. So you are along for the ride with me on this one and this new experience. What I'm working on are Christmas presents for my family. And when I started my pottery journey in May, my daughter-in-law started sending me really cool little Instagram clips that had different inspirational pieces of pottery and work. And I thought it would be nice to recreate that for her for Christmas. I will add a link in the description so that you can check out that Instagram post. It was pretty amazing, and of course what I did is nowhere near as cool, but I'm pretty happy with it, and you'll see the end result in a bit. This is the first time I've been able to work with underglazes. In my pottery class, we didn't have an extensive number of glazes. They didn't have the underglazes available. So it was a new experience for me to try this type of technique. So I was very pleased that the artist was willing to share how they were able to create their pieces of work, and I did my best to follow that. Because I had never worked with underglazes before, I was actually unsure how they were going to react by using, the glazes together. I didn't know if they were going to blend like paints or if they were going to feather or bleed or anything like that. So this was a brand new experience for me. And the entire time I was painting everything, there was a part of me that was just a little bit anxious about, okay, what is the end result going to be? In my classes that I had taken, you never were quite sure with what you were going to get with glazing. And I know to this day this is still the case with glazes. I know there can be some consistency with it, but I'm still very new to this. And so this was, there was that little bit of anxiety in the back of my mind on whether or not these were going to be turning out to a point where I could give them as gifts. As I proceeded with the cups, I really started to get comfortable and got kind of into a flow, which was really neat, and started feeling a lot more confident. So there was this part of me that the anxiety was starting to go away, and I started thinking to myself, "Oh, I might actually have some nice little presents here." I think the hardest part on these 3 cups was the black outline. The first one I did, it got a little clunky. I wasn't very confident in the strokes, and I wasn't quite sure how to get this particular glaze to, I guess you could say, lay right. I don't know how else to describe it. But by the time I got to the other 2, the process was much easier, and I was able to get the strokes to be more fluid and less choppy. So I'm very pleased with how 2 of them turned out. This is also the first time that I've used wax resist, and that was a little tricky at first. I at least did the right thing and used a cup that wasn't going to be used as a Christmas present to kind of get the feel of how the wax resist works. And I was able to get it to apply smoothly to the 3 that I was using as the Christmas presents. But really neat product. Definitely something that I will be incorporating more into the items that I create. You can also see on the stand behind is another cup that I used the Amico Kiln ice glaze on, and that's going to be really exciting to see a little bit later. There's some bugs I need to work out with that, but the effect is really super cool, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. This cup also I was using the Kiln ice on, and it was a different color. The other one was kind of a green, and this one is more of a pink color. It's a really unique glaze. If you haven't used it before, later on in the video, you'll actually hear it doing its thing. It's pretty cool. This is a clear dip glaze. I got this from the ceramic shop. And you can see the wax resisted doing its thing and just kind of dripping right off of that. That's so cool. It was very easy to clean up afterwards. This was the Dark Star glaze, which was the idea of it is to kind of drip, but I didn't quite get the technique correct. Thought I was doing it correctly, but you'll see in later on in the video, the end result is almost what I wanted, but it really went on smoothly. I expected it to be a little bit more thick to be drippy, but it wasn't. So I just need to put, I think, a couple more coats on at the top to get it to do more of a runny effect. Then it was time to load up the kiln and cross the fingers. I was excited. This is my fourth firing, but my first glaze firing in the kiln. I've done the two tests at a cone '04 and cone 5. And then I also did the bisque firing and had some uneven temperatures that I did a little troubleshooting and worked out. And now it was time to do the first glaze firing in my KM818. And I'll let you hear the wonderful sounds of the relays firing. It's such a cool sound. The first time I heard it, of course, I was flipping out. But then when realizing, oh no, that's a good sound, It's been neat to hear it go ever since. I don't have a venting system in my studio, so I leave the lid propped open for the first 1,000 degrees in order to let it vent out any of the fumes. And then from that point forward, I close it on up and we wait for it to bake. I won't lie, I didn't sleep very well. It did take about 13 hours for it to get up to temperature and another 10 hours before I could open the kiln. So instead of sugar plum fairies dancing in my head, I had images of shattering pots in a kiln. But everything turned out to be pretty cool. Very happy with it. I am going to let the actual audio play for the crackle glaze for the kiln ice glaze because it's the coolest sound of the glaze actually shattering, and it's intentional. So it's pretty neat. But I was very pleased with how the sunflower turned out. The orange wasn't as vibrant as I was expecting, but it taught me that the underglazes do mix. So putting the orange over the white did mute it. And if I want more of a vibrant orange next time, I would not put it over a white underglaze. And the daisy also turned out really nice. I'm very happy with how this one turned out. I'm very pleased with this whole entire process. And coming up here is the actual kiln ice glaze. So take a moment and listen to how cool that sounds and how pretty it is. And then lastly is the dark star. I definitely want to put more coats on, and it did end up with a little bubble that was kind of sharp. But these are all lessons learned. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. This was quite the adventure. Please hit like and subscribe if you're interested in more videos. And I will see you all at the next one. Bye.